And back here live on the Backstage Pass on the Sports Guys podcast.com. And of course, our friends out there, hightidecountry.net, and also KKTC True Country 99.9. Of course, out there, thanks to Matt Jordan for batting lead off to day two. And of course, all the work the sponsors did for Country Radio Seminar 2024. Don't worry, we're going to be in some capacity at CMA Fest coming up in June out there too. Talks underway right now for the Backstage Pass to be CMA Fest, June 7th to the 9th in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. Well, I know it's beautiful where she's at right now, too, because I was just talking about this great lady we have here on the screen with us, too, here on the show, to my good buddy Brett Kissel a few weeks ago there at Country Radio Seminar. Hill Kourkoutis joins us here on the Backstage Pass. How you doing, Hill?
I'm awesome, Brandon. How are you?
It's good, man. Your flight got into Halifax okay? And
I'm here. I'm safe. As I said earlier, it's a bit cold. We had like a bit of a summer happening in Toronto, and then all of a sudden it turned. We had our first winter snow the other day.
You're saying it's March 20th and there's still snow in Toronto.
Yeah. Well, it was our first snow. We had no snow up until then. It was wild this year, yeah. And now we're reliving the winter for like the final stretch. So
I guess no matter
happy equinox.
Happy equinox. I guess if he sees the shadow, I guess what is it? They see the shadow, they don't see the shadow. It doesn't matter for the.
I always mess that up, but it was supposed to be an early summer, but it was like pretty much a summer winter. So I don't know.
Well, I tell you what is coming up this week, we do know that you're there for it right now and get ready for the week, of course. Some of those awards are going to be announced on Saturday, the full thing with some performances and things like that. It's Canada's version of the Grammys. I love this because the 24th is coming up this weekend. That's why we had to get you in this week. You're nominated for that, again, that Producer of the Year, the category, which is fantastic. You've won before. Just talk about what this means to Canada to be a part of such a great awards ceremony like it is on Sunday, too, even the weekend, to spend a few days there to network, to get to know people. It's a big thing for the country.
It is. I mean, it's such a tight-knit community, and it's so nice to get together, because it is a vast country, although we all know each other, and it's nice to get together in one place. And every year it changes. The city changes, which is really cool. And we all just kind of come out, and it's like camp for, 4 days. You all just get together, and we're all hanging out and sharing stories and meals and laughs. And yeah, it's nice to celebrate the work that we all did throughout the year.
And congratulations on the nomination. For folks that don't know, kind of tell a little bit about, you've won this thing before, you know what it's like. I mean, taking home the hardware too, but also the producer side, which I like to factor into just a little bit about the songwriter side too, because not a lot of people, especially, I guess other shows, can't speak for everybody, but at least I hear it's always the artist, the artist, the artist, the artist. But to me, before it even gets to the artist, it's about the songwriter and about the producer, the line of work that you do to make that track or that record sound the way it's supposed to sound. So talk to folks about that, about the nomination, the category, and how excited you are too, because your line of work is, to me, in my opinion, is a lot tougher than just singing a song.
I don't know. It's hard for me to stand on stage and sing in front of people. I find that really daunting, which is why I semi-retired from doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's an immense honor. We're obviously not doing this for the accolades, but when they come, it's nice to know that people are listening and connecting to the music you're making. And I was very fortunate to be nominated this year for 2 songs. An artist named Asa Nabi here, who's a Cree artist, and he wrote an OG Cree artist, and he's like an incredible songwriter, storyteller. And the other song is a song called Whiskey Bar by an artist named Tafari Anthony.
That's a cool thing too. I love the fact you mentioned the songwriter, because so much in Nashville too is, connected to it, because there's a lot of people who love, like you said, the behind the scenes aspect of it. Don't want to be in front of the camera, in front of the microphone and all that kind of stuff. But without a good song coming up with it from the songwriter or the co-writes, or better yet, this collaboration we're seeing now in all genres of music, just talk about how important that is to the industry for me, Hill, and what that means for kind of the song selection and like what artist is going to record this beautiful piece of work and bring it to life.
Yeah, I mean, well, most of the artists that I work with actually write their own songs, and sometimes I'll have the privilege of, co-writing with them. But to me, the basis of what we do is storytelling, and so it's immensely important for me when I'm choosing to work on a project that I'm working with an artist that has something to say, that has stories to tell. And that's the foundation of the work I do as a producer too, like sitting there in the studio being creative and pressing record on the song, but ultimately I can't do what I do without the inspiration of that song initially. So it all starts from the song, and the song kind of then becomes this you know, thing that every decision I make on the production side of things creatively, it's tied into how do we serve the song best, you know, and how
Mm-hmm.
do we serve the narrator of that song, the artist, and support them so that ultimately something very truthful comes out of it at the end of the day.
You know, I always ask this question too, because when I listen to songs, I'm always about like, if there's 10 on the album, I'm listening to all 10. 12 on the album, I'm listening to all 12. Obviously, means single track's a single track. EPs, I'm all 4 or 5 or whatever's on there. That's something that a lot of people, you know, and I know streaming has changed so much of the way it is now for artists, and more streams, more money, that kind of thing. But for me, I think it's important to set the tone of an album with the right
Mm,
song leading it off to you kind of go through, because a lot of it you mentioned is storytelling, and you get so much. By the time you get to a second, third, fourth, fifth track and you get down to number 10, you really feel what the producer and everybody on this record is trying to bring to life, and especially the artist who sings the lyrics too. Talk about that process of just going through making an album, making a single, an EP, and how important it is to set the album, the tone with the right song leading it off.
Well, I think I'm extremely lucky to be able to produce full length albums because I know like nowadays it's a bit more of a singles oriented market for a lot of emerging artists. But I tend to work on concept albums. So an artist will usually come to me with a concept for the whole overarching arc of an album. And they'll come to me to kind of help them execute what that is. So in Ace and Abby's case, you know, he came to me and he had already written the album, and it's actually an album about his grandfather Watton, who is a residential school survivor here. Um, and that was such an important story to tell. And so all of the choices that we made leading up to you know, everything from the creative, what the instrumentation was going to be, was all to honor the story and his grandfather's life. So we have a lot of conversations leading up to something like this. I love to get to know artists. You know, and build that relationship going into an album, because that trust and respect to me is the foundation of you know, me being able to do a good job for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, throughout the process, that usually I mean during the pandemic, because I made a lot of full length albums remotely over the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, and this album was one of those albums, so we had to meet a lot over Zoom. We're having dinner together over Zoom and stuff. um, but yeah, taking that time to really get to know each other is integral to the process, because this is a
Mm-hmm.
long-term project, right? Like we're working for months on something like this, putting musicians together, all that sort of thing. But we usually like to, you know, narrow down things like the sonic palette, the instrumentation that we're going to use in advance going in, so that a tone is set.
It's almost like having, you know, and I look at these shows now, like I love American Idol, The Voice, kind of having all those different phases that they put an artist through. If you, of course, you make the cut out of the gate, blind audition, whatever it is, or audition in general, kind of see what's there. They're giving a lot of these platforms now for artists to stand on who otherwise may not get a chance to get their music out, which is really cool. But also putting them through, especially The Voice, with something like the coaching aspect of it too. You make the cut, you pick who you want to work with. They have to understand you, and you mentioned that process of it too, because understand you as an artist, you know them about what they've done in their career, being judges, things like that. But that coaching is so important while somebody's on that show. And then I feel like the work kind of begins. If somebody comes off that show, then the real work begins, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much. I feel like there's always constant development happening, even with an established artist. Every project that they go in to do, there's almost like a personal goal in addition to the commercial goal that they might have, you know. And a lot of the artists I work with, even people that have been doing it for decades, they'll be like, you know, they'll come in with an idea to maybe show another side of their vulnerability, which is very different for them. So there's always coaching that comes along with this. There's a therapeutic process, I think, that comes along with recording.
No doubt about it, too. That's what definitely brings those songs to life, too, because I know some people say, hey, we didn't get it till we got in the studio and that particular, you know, steel guitar went off. Or I remember it was like listening to records and the special effects in the background, like you mentioned. It's just pretty cool to see a song really come to life. You know, so many great country artists are doing their thing. Like I mentioned, Brett Kissel, and a lot of great Canadian artists, Megan Patrick, and some others that are just on fire right now with what's going
Yeah.
into. I don't know if it's something in the water or what's going on out there too. But man, it's just amazing to see how focused, just like anybody else with any craft out there, any job, you're focused on something and you really want to get it done and see it all the way through. But you're right. Musicians never rest on their laurels. They're always thinking about the next big thing or the next big project to do with that. And I think that's a very important ingredient for the industry.
Yeah, and also just living your life. I think that's such an important key because we can't write the songs if you're not living, right? And I love that you mentioned Megan. She was actually my very first bandmate. We went to junior high together, and when we were 13, we started our first band together. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of what she's doing and seeing her growth over the years. And yeah, she's absolutely slaying it. You know,
yeah, she really is too. I've had her a couple times here on the program too. I mean, obviously, Mitchell Tenpenny, another great, the hubby now too out there, which is his own great career. They've toured together, sang on these award shows and things like that too. So she's just tremendously on fire now too. And a lot of people don't see, I think, from the fan aspect of it, kind of what goes on behind the scenes. And really, obviously, fans aren't going to step in the studio. I've been in one, so I can see all the different buttons you guys click and the software you use and things like that too. And I appreciate, because that's not something I would just have. I've got an attention to detail, but I think along the way I probably would just get sidetracked on some things there too. But that's so cool because it's so important for an artist too, not just to be able to, like you said, to write the song. We're seeing more of this collaboration, not just from a songwriting aspect too, but crossing over genres now is how important collaboration is becoming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of the way that the world is now. We have so much more access to different types of music. So that's, going to inspire us. That's how every genre of music has kind of, grown as well. Everything's been inspired by the last thing to create the new thing. And I think we're seeing a lot more of that crossover now because of the access, and there's so much music being released, and it's not just major label music. There's so much happening independently that I think is really inspiring.
For you growing up, Hill, who were some of the artists that you were digging growing up? Was it like just multi genres? Was it country? Was it rock? Was it pop? Was it a little bit of everything?
It was everything, because Top 40 radio growing up was literally everything. I mean, when I was growing up in the, early 90s. And so, yeah, Cheryl Crow was massive for me. She actually was the one that inspired me to produce because I saw in her liner notes she had produced a record Trina Shoemaker had engineered. And I was like, what is that? There are these two awesome women doing these amazing things. I love David Bowie. I love Prince. I grew up listening to rap and R&B, like everything, country as well. Yeah. And I also, my family's Greek, so I grew up listening to Greek music as well. And that's definitely why even in my work, I'm not necessarily genre specific. I just love to work with interesting artists and storytellers.
What's your favorite thing to kind of go over? And I'll take a break here in a little bit. I'm just enjoying this conversation. I knew I would because Brett's like, you're just going to get lost in this show. We've already done it already too because we're hitting some deep topics here right now, covering not just music but the whole music industry. It's changed so much the last 25 or 30 years. And I used to be a vinyl fan growing up and buying CDs at a concert. What's the most challenging aspect of being a producer for you?
I don't know if I'm necessarily aware of challenges. For me, I'm just trying to stay authentic and present in the process because I think, songs and artists are living, breathing creatures, and you kind of have to take cues from them throughout the process. I think the biggest thing that I'm mindful of is not getting in the way of the process, and also not trying to impose my will on an artist or a song. I'm there to be an observer and a facilitator throughout that process, because if it's going to be authentic, you don't want to go in and try to mold something into something that it's not. So that's always the fine line, I think, of being very mindful of that, of knowing what the core vision is of the artist and what the core message is of a song and the story, and ensuring that you don't get distracted from that. Even, as you get into the fun bits with all the knobs and all the sounds, all those distracting things. And it's important to explore all facets of where those roads can lead. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're trying to realign with that purpose, that truth.
One of my favorite things we're going to talk about here when we come back, and one of the artists I'm following right now, his name is Zach Top. He's getting real big in Nashville now too, blowing up on some major tours, and about to go on tour with Brothers Osborne and Lainey Wilson if he hadn't already, especially this summer. And he's bringing old school country back to what it was back in the 90s, traditional country. So I'm going to get Hill's opinion on that too, and a few questions on instrumentation to really enhance and bring out a song when it's going through the production engineering process here too. But hey, if you want to buy Hill some jewelry, or me or anybody else out there too, make sure you get it from our friends at Jewelry by Tommy. It's the perfect gift for your spouse, friend, family member. Jewelry by Tommy. Email right there on the screen. Burley System at yahoo.com today to order. It's handcrafted, handmade. It's Jewelry by Tommy. More from our other sponsors, KKTC, True Country 99.9, and our friends at HighTideCountry.net. Of course, out there always live right now, the Sports Guys at podcast.com. March Madness kicking off this week too. We'll ask Hill if she's a basketball fan too. Don't worry about that. Coming up here in a few minutes too. And of course, the Juno Awards coming up this weekend. Beautiful Halifax, and of course, March 24th. Looking forward to that. Hill's going to take home another piece of hardware. I just know it's going to happen here from all of us at the Backstage Pass. Quick timeout. More with Hill Kourkoutis. Stay tuned.
Ever thought about owning your own business? Tanya Lapsley-Cockett did. She decided a little over 5 years ago that she was going to be an entrepreneur, so she started her travel business. Tanya is married and works a full-time job. Her business has given her amazing opportunities. Not only does she get to help people create memories by booking their vacations, sporting and entertainment tickets, rental cars, etc., but it has also allowed her to help other families create legacy income. The travel industry is extremely lucrative and is an $8 trillion industry. The travel industry is projected to earn in excess of $15 trillion over the next 10 years. The travel industry pays its professionals up to 70 to 80% commission on the travel that they book for themselves and their clients. As a travel business owner, Tanya books travel and teaches others how to own and operate their own travel business. She is a director in training on the marketing side of her business, where she has helped over 90 families start their own businesses. If you're interested in owning your own travel business, please contact Tanya at 917-743-1199 or at ladytlc3555@me.com.
The Caden Gordon Show, today's best country mix, is a 2-hour show playing independent and mainstream country music you know and love. Be sure to check it out at thecadengordonshow.com for more information on the show.
The Bangtail Pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here with one of the top producers in the industry, Hill Kourkoutis, joining us here, the Backstage Pass, Halifax. It's where it goes down this week. The Juno Awards coming up March 24th, and I hope you just take that hardware and just walk away with it again, too, as well. You know what it feels like, too, and just you do some amazing, amazing work out there. Of course, March Madness kicking off last night, tonight, Grambling, Montana State, and then also Colorado and Boise State in the Field of 64 set. That's all I'm going to do tomorrow, Hills. I have basketball on while I'm working, because March Madness is like my thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's like people filling out brackets. Do you get caught up in it? Because I know it's the madness. So do you get caught up in college basketball?
I'm not super familiar with college basketball. You know, I follow all of my local teams in Toronto. I have a lot of pride for them. But, yeah, I'm in a basement making music all day. There's, like, no time to watch the college basketball.
When you get some free time, though, what do you like to do for fun, like away from music?
I love cooking. I love to grow vegetables.
Really? Okay.
I do. Yeah, I really do. I mean, my grandparents were farmers back in Greece, so I think that the green thumb is in my blood. I love to go see museums and, you know, art galleries. I love to hang out with friends. Yeah, but I have a huge interest in the culinary arts. That's probably my favorite thing to do outside of music. Yeah.
Right. What's your favorite dish?
Who doesn't like
favorite
food?
dish to cook? What do you like to cook?
Well, the other day I made, because I have to be gluten-free right now, I made this gluten-free gnocchi with like a cacio e pepe sauce, and it was like my favorite thing that I've done so far. But I like to cook everything. I like to challenge myself and learn, different types of cuisine, different techniques, things I'm not used to. I love the challenge of trying to deconstruct my favorite things. Yeah.
That's about as I do these interviews. I'm like, just keep deconstructing, keep putting out good stuff, and keep doing more research and more homework. And so it's just like, because you listen, you're the only one, I guess, your own worst critic. You listen to yourself off the air, and you're like, I want to do this, talk about this, or we didn't cover that in a full 30-minute thing. But hey, it is what it is. That's why basketball is the escape tomorrow, so I can get away from all the nonsense out there too.
Well, you've also been going so hard, you need a break. Breaks are important.
I did. Last week was a full 9 days off. You're right. April's coming up. Take another one after before we go back to Nashville for CMA Fest coming up, which is another just great event up there too. Hey, I mentioned 90s country. There's this guy named Zach Top, and there's others that are doing it out there. Randall King and so many others. We talked about Megan Patrick, but I think what's so cool about it is bringing back the old sound of country that I grew up on, that 90s kind of sound where you had George Strait, Alan Jackson, Brooks and Dunn, things like that, of everybody who was anybody, Toby Keith, that grew up on, that knew from the first moment a song came on, like from the first set of instrument played or sound effects or whatever it was on a record, you just knew who that was. I think that's so important now that Zach Top, what I love about this song called Sounds Like the Radio was, it was the number one most added song in country radio back in January, the first of the year. And he brought back so much of this 90s country feel, neo-traditional. But the sound effects I want to ask you about, where I'm tying this in, when you guys are putting on, like, he wanted a steel guitar. He referenced steel guitar in the lyrics, and then they took a moment of like a 2-3 second thing to play an actual steel guitar. How important is that for an artist? I mean, do you get asked about that? Is that something they want to do? I mean, it's depending upon the situation of the song. And I think for a big part of it is neo-traditional country coming back and that being able to do what you guys do and just really showcase that in a song.
Yeah, I mean, listen, an artist will usually come to the table with some inspiration. And so the challenge there is to not make a derivative work, because obviously Alan Jackson and Brooks and Dunn, they already did it, and they were awesome at it. So I think the challenge when someone comes in with a reference like that's so distinct like that is, yes, let's pay homage to that and that nostalgia and what that makes us feel. But how do we make that how do we do your version of that? And so that's always what I try to do in the studio. But of course there are moments like that where someone will come in and say, okay, I have this vision where I want, this person to come in and play on it. And then sometimes it happens where you're just producing a song, you're building it up and you feel like something's missing, so towards the end of the process, you'll start thinking about all the instrumentation that you could add that could potentially solve, that missing piece of the puzzle. And that's happened to me a lot, working on Americana records, where you'll have an amazing band that's just played the crap out of everything, but something feels like it's not there. And, we'll then call like a pedal steel player to come in just to add that spirit to it,
Which I love that too. If you haven't seen a pedal steel player, I just love that knocking against it too. When they do that boom is just, that brings a song to life too, which is awesome. And that's the beauty of just how deep I get into records and listening to songs. It's like I listen to everything, not just lyrically, but man, I really feel something when I feel instrumentation and the appreciation of what you guys do behind the scenes. And also too, did you play any instruments growing up per se?
Yeah, I started off playing guitar, and then I took piano lessons, and I did voice lessons, and then I taught myself how to play bass and drums. To the drums, I taught myself how to play to Nirvana records, but I was not as good as Dave Grohl at all. Yeah, and now in the studio, I kind of I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I play most instruments on records. And then I'll pick some stuff up. Like, I'm not a lap steel player at all, but I have a lap steel and I'll lay down some steel if we need it. But if we need something complex, then I'll call the professionals for that.
No doubt about it. To keep what you do best on your side, and then call in some professionals when you need to get to 100%. Accentuate and bring that to life here too as well. We'll take our final timeout too. Coming up, a little rapid fire. We've already done some of it too. I'd love to get into it early, but we'll have some more funny questions and silly stuff out there. Get to know Hill more on the personal side too as well. And of course, March Madness kicking off last night, tonight. Grambling, Montana State, Colorado, Boise State, and some more games. All the field of 64 will be finalized tonight too. Get your brackets and be prepared for a bracket buster coming up this year too as well. well for everything out there for the NCAA tournament out there too. What you don't have to worry about busting, I guess, unless you just break it, is jewelry out there too. If you're looking for that perfect gift for your spouse, friend, family member, me, Hill, or anybody else out there, Jewelry by Tommy's got you covered. Email burleysystem@yahoo.com today to place the order. It's handcrafted, handmade. BUEHRLE system@yahoo.com today to order. It's Jewelry by Tommy. Quick time out. KKTC, True Country 99.9, and our friends at hightidecountry.net, and also live at the sportsguyspodcast.com. Stay tuned.
The Caden Gordon Show. Today's best country mix is a 2-hour show playing independent and mainstream country music you know and love. Be sure to check it out at thecadengordonshow.com for more information on the show.
Ever thought about owning your own business? Tanya Lapsley-Cockett did. She decided a little over 5 years ago that she was going to be an entrepreneur, so she started her travel business. Tanya is married and works a full-time job. Her business has given her amazing opportunities. Not only does she get to help people create memories by booking their vacations, sporting and entertainment tickets, rental cars, etc., but it has also allowed her to help other families create legacy income. The travel industry is extremely lucrative and is an $8 trillion industry. The travel industry is projected to earn in excess of $15 trillion over the next 10 years. The travel industry pays its professionals up to 70 to 80% commission on the travel that they book for themselves and their clients. As a travel business owner, Tanya books travel and teaches others how to own and operate their own travel business. She is a director in training on the marketing side of her business, where she has helped over 90 families start their own businesses. If you're interested in owning your own travel business, please contact Tanya at 917-743-1199 or at ladytlc3555@me.com.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Yeah, we'll get a glass of that tonight and celebrate with March Madness coming up tomorrow too. Bangtail Whiskey, our friends out there too, and thanks to the work all the sponsors do. Back here with Juno nominated Hill Kourkoutis on the show, the Backstage Pass, our friends hightidecountry.net, and of course KKTC True Country 99.9, our stations out in New Mexico and up into Colorado. All right, I'm gonna have fun with this one. We mentioned the food category, but I've got to know, because I heard Toronto had some great friends of mine from up there too. Will say, hey Brandon, when you get there one day, visit the city for the first time, you know, you've already had poutine, so you love that. But when it comes to pizza, there's some good pizza joints I heard you guys have up there. What's like the one or two that I've got to try to eat out at like pizza places?
Okay, this is tough because there are so many different styles of pizza. I personally love Napoli style pizza.
Yes.
So there's a great spot. I can't remember the name of it right now. Now I feel like a jerk, but it's on a street called Mount Pleasant. That's my favorite spot. And then there's also Pizza Libretto if you want like a good Napoli style pizza.
All right, so I got to remember that too. And I'll have to contact you about that too so we can get all the
any Toronto food eats, let me know, because there's so many places. We're very lucky. It's a great food city. Yeah.
I love it. Hey, if you weren't in the music business doing what you do it so well, what other occupation would you have done?
This is hard because I dream of doing things all the time. I don't know. I'd love to have been an archaeologist or an astrophysicist or maybe an organic horticulturalist.
I like that. Okay. You said answers I've not gotten before, especially archaeology. That's interesting to hear here on the show. I love that too, which is great. Let me ask you about this one. I love doing it. If you were to win a lottery of some kind, what's the first thing you'd do with the money?
I probably pay off any debts that people close to me have. And then I would obviously donate some to charity, and then I don't know, I'd probably go fly somewhere and have an insane dinner because as you know, I love food.
We're right there in that category. I can't wait to go out to eat with you one day because we'll pick some good restaurants, no doubt, too. And if you ever get down to Nashville, hey, it'll be a cool thing to see you during one of the big events like a CMA Fest or a CRS2 down there, too. Hey, looking back at it, too, I know you mentioned the artistry side. You gave that up, too, and looking more, obviously, production, engineering, things like that now, too, which you're fantastic at, too. But if you were to step behind, let's play a little hypothetical here. If you were to step in front of a microphone again, is there a stage that you would love to step on, either you by yourself or as a support act for an artist?
See, that's hard because when I toured, I got to step on some of my favorite stages. Like I got to play Red Rocks, Massey Hall in Toronto, which is like one of my favorite venues. It's where I saw my first concert, Sheryl Crow. Yeah, that's maybe Carnegie Hall. I don't know how the hell I'd end up there, but that would be cool.
Carnegie Hall, one of the best. Red Rocks, I hear it all the time too. And then some people, of course, the country music stuff we do, they're like, hey, Center Circle of the Grand Ole Opry wouldn't hurt either too, to be out there.
Yeah, honestly, the Opry would be insane. Yeah.
I love it too. I just reignite something there from Hill may step in front of that. You never know. Like I said, she may get from behind stage. And the thing is, you said jack of all trades, master of none, but you are master of the production side. I love your work out there too. And it's seen as you bring these artists songs and these albums to life. You can check out her work across all the social media out there, the great artists she's working with on Instagram. And of course, hey, again, Hill, congratulations on the nomination. Fantastic work. I hope you walk away with the hardware coming up this Sunday, the Juno Awards. Appreciate the time and the conversation. Hope you had fun, and we're going to do this again, no doubt.
Thanks, Brandon. I love to keep in touch. We got to go out for some food.
We got to definitely go out for some food, too, especially if I get my butt up to Toronto up there, too, especially for those pizza joints. Hill Kourkoutis there on the Backstage Pass. We're back tomorrow. Kaylee Bishop coming by. And then on Friday, we end the week. A couple of great shows. She was on American Idol. Olivia rocks. She's got a huge, huge following out there, too. And, of course, our friend Jennifer Hart stopping by to talk about her latest single. And then some. Thanks to our friends at hightidecountry.net. And, of course, out there, the Sports Guys podcast.com. All the shows archived there. And our friends at KKTC True Country 99.9. You'll hear the interview with Hill coming up over the next couple of days when they fit it into the rotation. Until then, take care and God bless. We'll see you soon.